Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host Sean Coulter. Today's time we're going to discuss about WWE every Vince McMahon's WrestleMania match ranked from worst to best. Rumors suggest 76-year-old WWE owner Vince McMahon will wrestle at WrestleMania, and here's all of his prior matches at the big show ranked. With WWE boss Vince McMahon rumored to make an ring return on WrestleMania, here's all the prior matches at the show and of shows for more than decades. McMahon was portrayed on the TV Simplo play-by-play announcer calling the action on WWE TV and pay-per-view alongside people like Jesse, The Body, Ventura, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. It wasn't until 1997, the early days of the Attitude Era, began the activity acknowledged as the man who owned WWE. It would later come out that McMahon, who had long been bodybuilding enthusiast, considered competing in the ring in the younger days, but he was discouraged by his father, who would eventually purchase what would become WWE. From McMahon's father drew line between company management and ring performers, but the Attitude Era, the younger Vince McMahon would decide to throw out the window. McMahon first had matches as part of a classic feud between the technical Mr. McMahon character Stone Cold Steve Austin and continued productively doing so up until 2012. Related, why WWE's 2022 Royal Rumble was such a disappointing show. The fact that McMahon hasn't had a match in a decade with reports that he'll be wrestling in WrestleMania XXXVII against the announcer, former NFL player Pat McAfee, both confusing and shocking wrestling fans. McMahon is 76-year-old and while doubt his great shape of his age, doesn't at all appear to be healthy enough to wrestle in a match still. In preparation for McMahon's seeming return the ring, every WrestleMania match he's had so far ranked worst to best. Number 4. Vince McMahon vs. Bret Hart at WrestleMania in 2010. A one-time match between WWE legend Bret the Hitman Hart, another rival of Steve Austin, and man who infamously screwed him at Survivor Series in 1997 wouldn't been a dream. It countered unfortunately by the time Bret Hart and now Vince McMahon at WrestleMania in 2010. Hart has been retired in the injury of decades. McMahon was nearing Medicare eligibility, what's more due to Hart's health status as a stroke survivor suffers of post-concussion syndrome. He couldn't make actual bumps so much such as it was basically just hard beating big men down for 10 minutes. That's fine theory, but its practice Hart was doing his attacks at half speed and McMahon was far from ruler. He had been for 5 years prior, adding the issue was that McMahon into 12 years older than former The Simpsons guest star Hart. The age difference was visible enough that watching him utterly destroy McMahon for minutes and let some live crowd had viewers actually feel bad for Vince. It was akin watching someone near defensively grandpa getting mercilessly assaulted needed to say the fact McMahon is now 12 years older than he was against Hart does not bode well for potential showdown with McPhee. Number 3. Vince McMahon vs. Shane. McMahon at the WrestleMania in 2001. Surprisingly enough, Vince McMahon's feud with Steve Austin never got a WrestleMania match, as their biggest singles encounter took place still caged in 1999. As Valentine's Day Massacre event since first WrestleMania match came in March 2001 at WrestleMania. Mere days after his purchase rival wrestling company WCW, Vince went head to head with his recently fired son Shane McMahon, whose storyline had brought WCW out from under his father. Related, RoboCop's bizarre pro wrestling cameo and team with Sting explained. The match between the Vince Shane McMahon was no rule street fight with WWE legend Mick Foley serving the special guest referee. Neither Vince and Shane should be ever been mistaken. The athletics and the two men tore into each other with weapons like steel chairs and garbage cans for almost 15 minutes, providing about the one lots of fun to watch Shane emerge victorious with the help of his mother. Linda and Vince storyline mistress Trish Stratus later the same night Vince would help his old rival Austin beat The Rock for the WWE World title for an unholy allies no one expected to ever happen. Number 2, Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania in 2013. Vince McMahon's second WrestleMania match came in 2003 at WrestleMania in Seattle. McMahon went one-on-one, arguably his greatest creation, as head of WWE the 1980 and 90 superstar Hulk Hogan carried WWE through the first big period of pop culture built after nearly decades in WCW, returning to WWE in 2002. Hogan's feud with the McMahon was over. They really deserve credit for Hulkamania, and again, it was no real street fight. And now that wrinkled and McMahon won, Hulk Hogan would have no retired while no one really doubted result watching the two wrestling icons beat bloody each other up. Made for another really thrilling encounter. Many things can be said about McMahon, about one can allege he's not willing to take beating entertainment of his paying customers. Surprising one of Hogan's all-time greatest rival, late Rowdy Piper, even showed up to try to help McMahon win, but it was no avail of Hulkamania ran wild one more time. While personal scandals haven't tarnished Hogan's image in the years since, the crowd loving seeing him take down Mr. McMahon back then. Number 1, Vince McMahon versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania in 2006. Vince McMahon's third WrestleMania match came in WrestleMania in 2006, taking on another WWE legend, Shawn Michaels. Their feud started kind out of nowhere, with McMahon seemingly taking offense to Michaels' change from the hard party, sex obsessed with WWE star he was in the 1990s into the born again Christian family man post WrestleMania. This would develop into McMahon's repeatedly mocking Michaels' fate in a regrettable match involving God. Before through the Michaels versus McMahon, the WrestleMania was another highly entertaining, no hope Barrett brawl. Who what makes it better than the rest of McMahon's WrestleMania outing? Opponents Michaels is commonly considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. It is WWE Hall of Fame induced to refer to as Mr. WrestleMania for his show-stealing performance at WWE event, and usually McMahon spent most of his match getting beaten to pulp, including iconic moment when which Michaels came flying down off the giant ladder, putting McMahon through a table. Michaels, I surprisingly picked up with the win. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this topic. Don't forget to subscribe and follow for more. Thank you.